My name is Marianne. Before I begin, let me say this gently. If you enjoy real-life, style stories filled with deep pain, shocking truth, and strength you never saw coming, please subscribe, like this video, and turn on your notification bell so you never miss another powerful story. And tell me in the comments where you are watching from. I read every single one. Now listen carefully, because what I am about to tell you still shakes my hands when I remember it. The most shocking moment of my life did not happen when my husband lied. It happened when I stood at the door of a small yellow house, and a little girl who looked exactly like my husband opened the door and said, "Are you here to see Daddy?" My heart stopped. I could not breathe. I could not speak. I could not move. Behind her, I saw toys on the floor. Family photos on the wall. A woman stepped forward, smiling kindly, not knowing who I was. And in that moment I knew. I had not just found a secret. I had found my husband's other life. But what I did next, no one, not even me, expected it. Let me take you back. I had been married for 22 years. 22 years of cooking his meals, washing his clothes, praying with him at night, believing every word he said. People said we were a quiet couple. No shouting. No drama. Just peace. Or so I thought. My husband was the kind of man everyone trusted. Calm voice. Gentle smile. Always said the right thing at church. The kind of man neighbors greeted with respect. And the kind of man who said, "I'm working late again, don't wait up." At first, I did not question it. Then the late nights became weekends. Then the weekends became short trips. Then the phone started to change. He turned it face down. He took calls outside. He smiled at messages but never showed me. One night, while folding laundry, I found something in his jacket pocket. A receipt. Not from a place near our home. From a grocery store across town. Near a place I had never been. Something inside me whispered, "This is not just cheating." But I pushed the thought away. Until the day everything broke. It was a Tuesday afternoon. Rain was falling softly. The kind of rain that makes the world feel quiet. I was cleaning the house when his phone rang on the table. He had forgotten it. The screen lit up. A name appeared. Not saved. Just a number. Then a message followed. "Don't forget to pick up the kids. They miss you." The kids. My legs went weak. I sat down slowly, staring at the phone like it might explode. Kids. We had only one child. And our son was already grown. My hands shook as I picked up the phone. I know it was wrong. But my heart was already bleeding. I opened the messages. Photos loaded. A woman. 2 children. Birthday cakes. School uniforms. Family dinners. My husband was in every picture. Smiling. Happy. Alive in a way I had not seen in years. That was when the truth hit me like fire. My husband did not just have another woman. He had another family. I cried until my chest hurt. Then something strange happened. The tears stopped. A cold calm filled me. I did not scream. I did not call him. I did not break anything. Instead, I wrote down the address I found in one of the messages. And the next day, I drove there. That was how I ended up standing in front of the small yellow house. That was how the little girl opened the door. That was how the woman smiled at me and said, "Hello. Can I help you?" And that was when my husband stepped into the room behind her. And froze. His face turned white. "Marianne," he whispered. The woman turned slowly toward him. "Who is she?" she asked. The children looked confused. The air felt heavy. And every eye in that room turned to me. I had 1,000 things I could have done. I could have screamed. I could have exposed him. I could have walked away. But instead, I did something no one expected. Something that would change all our lives. And I promise you this. What I chose next will shock you. But that is where I will stop for now. Because what happened after that moment is something you need to hear slowly. Stay with me. No one spoke. Not my husband. Not the woman. Not the children. The room felt like it was holding its breath. I could hear the clock on the wall ticking. Tick, tick, tick. My husband took one slow step toward me. Marianne, this is not what it looks like, he said. That sentence. That same old sentence every liar uses. I looked at him, really looked at him. The man I had slept beside for over 20 years now stood in another woman's living room, with children who shared his eyes and smile. I did not raise my voice. I did not cry. I simply asked, "How old are they?" The woman looked confused. "What?" "The children," I repeated, pointing gently. "How old are they?" My husband swallowed hard. The little boy spoke before anyone else. "I'm 8, he said proudly. "And my sister is 6. My knees almost gave way. 8 years. That meant. This secret family started 14 years into my marriage. 14 years of lies. The woman's smile slowly faded. She looked at my husband again. "You said you were divorced," she whispered. He opened his mouth, then closed it. She stepped back as if he had pushed her. "What did you tell her?" I asked quietly. My husband shook his head. "Please, not in front of the kids." That was when something snapped inside me. Not rage. Not jealousy. But something colder. I turned to the children and knelt so I was at their eye level. "Sweethearts," I said softly, "why don't you go to your room for a little while? Your parents need to talk." The woman stared at me in shock. But the children listened. As soon as the door closed behind them, the truth came rushing out like dirty water. "You told her you were divorced?" I asked. He nodded. "You told her I was gone?" I continued. He nodded again. The woman covered her mouth with her hands. "You told me your wife died," she said, her voice shaking. "You told me you were alone." I stood up slowly. "No," I said. He was not alone. He was married. To me. For 22 years. The woman sank onto the couch. "I didn't know," she cried. "I swear I didn't know." I believed her. That hurt even more. We sat in silence for a long time. Finally, my husband spoke. "I never meant for this to happen." I laughed. It came out sharp and bitter. "You never meant to have another woman? You never meant to have 2 children? You never meant to lie for 8 years? He looked down at the floor. "I loved you," he said. "I still do." Those words made my stomach turn. "Love does not live in secrets," I replied. The woman looked at me with red eyes. "What are you going to do?" she asked. That was the moment everyone expected me to explode. But I didn't. I stood up, straightened my coat, and said something no one expected. "I am not here to fight." Both of them stared at me. "I am here to understand," I continued. "And to decide." My husband looked relieved. That was his mistake. That night, I went home alone. He did not follow me. I sat on my bed, staring at the wall, replaying everything in my mind. The birthdays he missed. The weekends he traveled. The holidays he said he was working. All lies. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. A message from him. "Please come back tomorrow. We need to talk." I typed back only one sentence. "Tomorrow. Noon." Then I did something strange. I slept. Deeply. Like my body knew something big was coming. The next day, I arrived at the yellow house again. But this time, I was not empty-handed. I carried a folder. Inside it were documents. Bank statements. Insurance papers. A will. Things I had quietly gathered over the years. Because while my husband thought I was blind, I had always been watching. The woman opened the door again. She looked afraid. Are you here to take him away? She asked. I shook my head. No, I said calmly. I'm here to do something better. My husband came into the room, nervous. What's that? He asked, pointing to the folder. I smiled for the first time since discovering the truth. You'll see. We sat at the table. I opened the folder and placed the papers in front of him. What is this? He asked. I leaned forward. It's your life, I said. All of it. Every lie, every asset, every promise you broke. His hands began to shake. You see, I continued, while you were building a secret family, I was building something else. Both of them stared at me. What? The woman whispered. I closed the folder slowly. A plan. And just as I was about to tell them exactly what that plan was, the front door opened. Someone unexpected stepped inside, and my heart dropped all over again, because the next person to walk in was the one person who was never supposed to know. The front door closed slowly behind him. The sound was soft, but it hit me harder than a shout. My son stood there. My only child. Grown now. Tall. Broad shoulders. The same eyes as his father. For a moment, no one moved. My husband's face drained of color. The woman's mouth fell open. I felt my chest tighten like a rope was being pulled around my heart. Mom, my son said softly. What are you doing here? I had not planned for this. Of all the people in the world, this was the one person I never wanted to hurt. My voice failed me. My husband rushed forward. You shouldn't be here, he said quickly. This is not. Not what? My son interrupted. Not what it looks like. He looked around the room. The toys. The family pictures. The children peeking from the hallway. His eyes moved back to his father. Dad, he said slowly. Who are these kids? Silence again. Heavy. Thick. Crushing. The little girl stepped forward. He's our daddy, she said. That was when my son understood. I watched his face change. Confusion. Shock. Then pain so deep it looked like anger. You told me you were going to work, my son said, staring at his father. You missed my graduation. You missed my birthdays. You said you were tired. My husband opened his mouth, but no words came out. My son turned to me. Mom, he whispered. Did you know? Tears burned my eyes. No, I said honestly. I found out yesterday. He exhaled hard, rubbing his face. So all those years, he said. All those nights you waited for him. My silence answered him. We all sat down. No one suggested it. It just happened. The children were sent back to their room. The woman sat stiff, holding her hands together. My husband looked like a man waiting for judgment. My son sat beside me. He took my hand. That small act almost broke me. You always told me to be honest, my son said to his father. You said lies destroy families. My husband stared at the table. I was wrong, he whispered. That's not enough, my son replied. I opened the folder again. This is why I asked you to come, I said to my son gently. His eyes widened as he saw the papers. What is all this? Proof, I said. And protection. I explained everything. How I had noticed missing money years ago. How I started saving copies of bank statements. How I kept records when my husband moved money quietly. How I prepared for a day I hoped would never come. My son listened in silence. You planned for this? He asked. I prepared for survival, I replied. My husband slammed his hand on the table. So this is an attack now, he shouted. I did not flinch. No, I said calmly. This is accountability. The woman finally spoke. You said your wife was weak, she said, looking at him with tears in her eyes. You said she would never stand up to you. My husband looked at her sharply. I never said that, he lied. I turned toward her. Yes, I said. He did. She stared at him. That's what you said, she whispered. You said she would never leave. That she needed you. My son stood up. You lied to all of us, he said. But you won't lie anymore. I laid out the truth. I am not here to take your children's father away, I said to the woman. I am here to make sure no child is destroyed by this mess. She began to cry. I don't want to be the other woman, she said. I didn't know. I believe you, I replied. My husband looked confused. Then what do you want? He asked. I looked him straight in the eye. I want honesty, I said. And I want fairness. I slid one document across the table. What's this? He asked. An agreement, I replied. One you will sign. My son leaned forward. What kind of agreement? One that protects everyone, I said. Except lies. My husband laughed nervously. You think you can control this? I smiled. I already am. I stood up. This is how it will go, I said slowly. You will admit everything. To your family. To your church. To everyone who thinks you are a good man. My husband jumped to his feet. You wouldn't. I would, I replied. And I will. The woman gasped. My son squeezed my hand. You will provide for both families, I continued. No more secrets. No more excuses. My husband shook his head. You can't force me. I pulled out my phone. I can, I said. And I will. I pressed play. His voice filled the room. A recording. Him admitting everything. The room froze. His face went pale. Where did you get that? He whispered. I told you, I said quietly. I was watching. My son stared at his father in disbelief. You recorded yourself? He asked. My husband sank into the chair. I trusted you, he said to me. I looked at him sadly. No, I said. You underestimated me. Just when I thought the room could not hold any more tension. There was a knock at the door. 3 sharp knocks. Everyone turned. The woman stood slowly and opened it. 2 people stood outside. One of them wore a suit. The other held a folder with a familiar logo. My heart dropped. Because I recognized it immediately. It was the logo of my husband's workplace. And in that moment, I realized. This was no longer just a family matter. It was about to become public. And what happened next would change everything forever. The man in the suit stepped inside first. He was tall, serious, and carried himself like someone used to delivering bad news. The woman beside him looked younger, holding a thick folder close to her chest. The logo on the folder was clear. My husband's workplace. My husband stood up so fast his chair fell backward. What is this? He demanded, his voice shaking. Why are you here? The man adjusted his tie calmly. Sir, he said, we need to speak with you. Privately. I crossed my arms. There is nothing private left, I said. My son looked from the visitors to his father. Dad, he said slowly, what did you do? The man in the suit turned to me. Ma'am, he said politely, are you his wife? I am, I replied. He nodded. Then you should hear this as well. My husband's face crumbled. We all sat down again. The woman from the workplace opened her folder and pulled out several papers. There has been an internal review, she began. Certain financial movements were flagged. My husband swallowed hard. Movements. I repeated. She nodded. Funds redirected. Accounts opened under alternate addresses. The woman glanced at the yellow house. This address, she said quietly. The room felt like it was sinking. You used company money? I asked my husband. He jumped up. No, that's not true. The man in the suit remained calm. Sir, he said, we have evidence. My son stood up. You stole, he asked his father, to support two families. My husband's mouth opened, then closed. The truth sat heavy. The woman from the workplace continued. You were trusted, she said. Respected. You had access. She slid a document toward him. Unless this is explained, she said, this matter will go further. My husband looked at me with desperate eyes. Mary Ann, he whispered, please. That was the moment I realized something important. He was not asking for forgiveness. He was asking for rescue. I did not move. The woman who lived in the house began to cry again. You used stolen money, she said. For our children? My husband shook his head wildly. I was trying to provide. By stealing? She asked. My son clenched his fists. You lied to everyone, he said. And now this. I stood up slowly. I think it's time we all told the truth, I said. Everyone turned toward me. I know about the accounts, I continued. I know about the transfers. My husband stared at me in shock. You knew, he whispered. I suspected, I replied. And I prepared. I looked at the people from his workplace. I have records, I said. Personal ones. And copies. The man in the suit raised his eyebrows slightly. You do? Yes, I said. And I am willing to cooperate. My husband collapsed back into his chair. The room was silent again. Finally, the man in the suit spoke. Sir, he said to my husband, we will need you to come with us. The woman who lived there gasped. Now? She asked. Yes, he replied. Now. My husband stood, trembling. He looked at his children's door. I can explain, he whispered. The woman shook her head. Don't, she said. Just don't. He turned to my son. I'm sorry, he said. My son did not answer. He turned to me last. I never meant to hurt you, my husband said. I looked at him calmly. Yet you did, I replied. As they walked him toward the door, something unexpected happened. The little boy ran out of the room. Daddy, he cried, grabbing his leg. My husband knelt and hugged him tightly. That moment nearly broke me. The man in the suit waited patiently. After a long moment, my husband stood up again and followed them out. The door closed behind him. And just like that, the man who had controlled everything was gone. We stood there, 3 adults left behind in the wreckage. The woman sat down heavily. What happens now? She asked. I took a deep breath. Now, I said, we protect the children. My son nodded. We won't let them suffer for his choices, he said. The woman looked at me through tears. Why are you helping me? She asked. Most wives would hate me. I shook my head. I don't hate you, I said. I hate lies. That evening, my son and I drove home together. The car ride was quiet. Finally, he spoke. You're stronger than I ever knew, he said. I smiled sadly. I didn't have a choice. When we reached home, something felt wrong. The front door was open. My heart jumped. Did you lock it? My son asked. I always lock it, I replied. We stepped inside slowly. The house was a mess. Drawers open. Papers everywhere. My son rushed to the study. Mom, he called out, his voice tight. The safe is open. My blood ran cold. I ran to him. The safe door hung open. Empty. Everything was gone. The documents. The copies. The proof. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You think you're in control. You're not. And in that moment I knew. The story was far from over. Because someone else had been watching us. And they were not done yet. I stared at the empty safe until my eyes burned. The papers were gone. The copies were gone. Years of quiet preparation. Gone. My son ran his hands through his hair. This doesn't make sense, he said. Who would know about the safe? I did not answer right away. Because deep down, I already knew. Only one person knew where that safe was hidden. Only one person knew what it contained. My husband. Or someone acting for him. My phone buzzed again. Another message. You should have stayed quiet. My hands shook so badly my son had to take the phone from me. Mom, he said firmly, you're not staying here tonight. I nodded. For the first time since all this started, I felt afraid. Not sad. Not angry. Afraid. We stayed at my son's apartment that night. I barely slept. Every sound made me jump. Every shadow looked like a threat. Around 3 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. My son grabbed it before I could. Who is this? He demanded. Silence. Then a voice I knew too well. Put your mother on. My son's jaw tightened. No, he said. You don't get to talk to her. I just want to explain, my husband replied softly. You've done enough explaining, my son snapped and ended the call. I stared at the dark ceiling. A part of me still wanted answers. Another part of me knew answers no longer mattered. The next morning, I went back to the house with my son and a locksmith. The door had been forced. The locks were changed within an hour. While the locksmith worked, my son found something else. A small envelope on the kitchen table. No name. Just one word written on it. Listen. Inside was a small flash drive. My heart pounded. We plugged it into his laptop. A file opened. Audio. My husband's voice filled the room. Confident. I moved the files. She thinks she's smart. She always did. But she won't destroy me. My stomach turned. Then another voice spoke. A woman's voice. Not the woman from the yellow house. Someone else. Just make sure she stays quiet, the woman said. I can't have this touching my name. My son froze. Who is that? He whispered. I shook my head slowly. I don't know, I said. But whoever she was. She sounded powerful. That afternoon, the woman from the yellow house called me. I don't know who else to talk to, she said, crying. They came to my house this morning. Who? I asked. 2 men, she said. They asked about you. About the documents. My blood ran cold. Did you tell them anything? I asked. No, she said quickly. I swear. I believed her. But it meant one thing. This was bigger than my marriage. That evening, another knock came at my son's door. This time, it was the police. Ma'am, the officer said gently, we need to ask you a few questions. My heart sank. About what? I asked. He looked at his notes. About missing documents, he said. And a complaint filed against you. A complaint? My son repeated. By who? The officer hesitated. By your husband. I felt the room spin. He says you stole company property, the officer continued. My son stepped forward. That's a lie, he said. The officer nodded slowly. That's why we're here, he replied. To find the truth. After they left, my son looked at me with anger and fear mixed together. He's trying to turn this on you, he said. Yes, I replied quietly. Because he's desperate. My phone buzzed one last time that night. A message from the same unknown number. If you speak again, you lose everything. I stared at the screen. Then I did something unexpected. I typed back. I already lost everything. A reply came almost instantly. Then you have nothing left to protect. I locked the phone and looked at my son. They think I'm scared, I said. He nodded. They have no idea who you really are. But as I lay down that night, one thought refused to leave my mind. If my husband was willing to destroy me to save himself, what else was he willing to do? And how far would this go? Before someone got hurt? That was the question waiting for me in the dark. And I knew the answer was coming soon. I did not sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard his voice. Every time I breathed, I felt watched. Morning came quietly. Too quietly. I sat at the kitchen table in my son's apartment, holding a cup of cold tea. My son stood by the window, checking the street below again and again. "They won't scare you into silence," he said. I looked up at him. "They already tried," I replied. "Now it's my turn." He frowned. "What do you mean?" I took a deep breath. "I'm done hiding," I said. "I'm done reacting. It's time I moved first." Later that morning, I did something my husband never expected. I went back to the yellow house. Alone. The woman opened the door slowly, fear in her eyes. "I was hoping it was you," she said. "I didn't sleep." "Neither did I replied. We sat at the same table again. The one where everything had fallen apart. "I found something," she whispered, pulling out a small notebook. My heart jumped. "What is that?" I asked. "Dates. Names. Places," she said. "Things that never made sense to me before." She opened it. My husband's handwriting. Meetings. Cash drops. Phone numbers without names. "I thought it was work," she said, crying softly. "Now I know it wasn't." I took the notebook carefully. "This changes everything," I said. She looked up. "What will you do with it?" I met her eyes. "I will tell the truth," I said. "All of it." That afternoon, I received another message. "Unknown number. You're making this worse." I smiled for the first time in days. "No," I typed back. "I'm making it right." Seconds later, my phone rang. This time, I answered. "You think you're brave now?" My husband's voice hissed. "You think you've won?" "I don't want to win," I replied calmly. "I want the lies to stop." "You'll destroy everything," he snapped. "You destroyed it," I said. "I just uncovered it." Silence. Then he spoke again, slower. "If you go public," he said, "people will hate you. They'll blame you." I closed my eyes. "I've lived with your blame for years," I replied. "I survived that." That evening, I met with the man in the suit again. This time, I brought the notebook. His eyes widened as he flipped through it. "This fills the gaps," he said quietly. "I want protection," I told him. "For the children. For myself. For the truth." He nodded. "We can arrange that," he said. As I left the building, my phone buzzed again. A new message. This time, no threat. Just 4 words. "You left me no choice." My stomach dropped. That night, my son and I sat together in silence. "I have a bad feeling," he said. "So do I replied. A knock came at the door. Not loud. Not urgent. Just calm. Too calm. My son moved in front of me. "I'll handle it," he said. He opened the door. And froze. Standing there was my husband. Free. Smiling. And behind him, 2 men I had never seen before. One of them spoke. "Ma'am," he said politely, "we just want to talk." That was when I understood. This was no longer about lies. It was about control. And I had just challenged the wrong people. The door closed behind them. And the room suddenly felt very small. The door clicked shut behind them. The sound was soft. But it felt like a lock snapping into place. My husband stood there like he owned the room. Calm. Clean. Smiling. Not a trace of fear on his face. The 2 men behind him did not smile. They did not look around. They stood still like walls. My son stepped forward. You don't get to be here, he said. Leave. Now. My husband laughed quietly. Still trying to play the man of the house? He asked. You always were emotional. That was the first time I saw it clearly. This was not panic. This was not desperation. This was confidence. And that terrified me more than anger ever could. I warned you, my husband said, looking straight at me. I told you to stay quiet. I did not answer. I had learned something important. Every time I spoke before, he used my words against me. So I waited. One of the men spoke. We don't want trouble, he said calmly. We just want cooperation. My son clenched his fists. You broke into her house, he said. You stole documents. You threatened her. The man tilted his head. Strong accusations, he said. Can you prove them? My stomach tightened. That was when I understood the plan. They were not here to scare me. They were here to rewrite the story. My husband walked closer. You see, he said softly, people like you don't win these battles. You talk too much. You trust too much. He leaned in. And you forget who I am. I stood up slowly. Not shaking. Not crying. I know exactly who you are, I said. He smiled wider. Oh, he said. Tell me. You are a man who lies easily, I said. A man who hides behind women and children. A man who thought silence meant weakness. One of the men shifted slightly. My husband's smile tightened. Careful, he warned. I met his eyes. No, I said. You be careful. My son reached for his phone. One of the men raised his hand. I wouldn't do that, he said calmly. My son froze. The room felt smaller. Heavier. You see, my husband continued. This ends tonight. You give us what you have. You stop talking. And we all walk away. And if I don't? I asked. He sighed like a tired teacher. Then accidents happen, he said. Stories change. People lose credibility. My son snapped. You're threatening her. My husband turned sharply. I am protecting us, he snapped back. Like I always have. That lie burned. I took a step forward. There is something you don't know, I said quietly. He raised an eyebrow. Oh, he said again. You think the documents are gone, I continued. You think the truth lives in paper. The room went very still. But it doesn't, I said. It lives in people. One of the men frowned. What does that mean? He asked. It means, I said slowly, you're already too late. My husband's face twitched. You're bluffing, he said. I smiled. The smallest smile. You taught me to prepare, I said. You just never thought I'd prepare for you. The silence stretched. Then my husband laughed loudly. She's lying, he said to the men. She's trying to scare you. But his eyes had changed. They were no longer calm. They were searching. One of the men stepped closer to him and whispered something in his ear. My husband's jaw tightened. He looked back at me. What did you do? He asked. I did not answer. Instead, my phone buzzed in my pocket. One vibration. Then another. Then another. Messages. Missed calls. My husband noticed. What is that? He demanded. I slowly pulled out my phone and looked at the screen. Then I looked up at him. Help, I said quietly, has a way of arriving when you least expect it. The knock at the door came suddenly. Hard. Urgent. Not polite. The two men turned sharply. My husband froze. The knock came again. Louder. Open the door, a voice shouted. My son's eyes widened. My husband whispered, Don't. I did not move. The door handle began to turn. And in that moment I knew. Whatever happened next would decide everything. Because the truth was no longer knocking. It was forcing its way in. The knocking did not stop. It grew louder, harder, urgent enough to shake the door. "Open up," the voice shouted again. My husband's face drained of color. The two men behind him exchanged quick looks. They were no longer calm, no longer confident. This was not part of their plan. My son moved without thinking. He stepped past my husband and opened the door wide. Two uniformed officers stood there. Behind them were two more men in plain clothes. "Ma'am," one of the officers said firmly, "are you safe?" For a second, I could not speak. Then I nodded. "Yes," I said. "I am now." The room exploded into motion. One of the men who came with my husband tried to step back. Another raised his hands slowly. My husband stood frozen in place, like a statue that had just realized it was cracking. The plainclothes officer stepped forward. "Sir," he said to my husband, "we need you to turn around and place your hands behind your back." My husband laughed nervously. "This is ridiculous," he said. "There's been a misunderstanding." "There hasn't," the officer replied calmly. "We've been listening." My husband's eyes shot to me. "You called them," he hissed. I shook my head. "No," I said. "I didn't have to." They separated everyone. One officer spoke to my son quietly. Another asked me to sit on the couch and take slow breaths. The two men who came with my husband were escorted out first, their faces tight and angry. My husband was last. As they moved toward him, something in him snapped. "You think she's a hero?" he shouted, pointing at me. "She's destroying lives." The officer tightened his grip. "You did that yourself," he said. My husband twisted his head toward me. "You planned this," he said bitterly. "You set me up." I met his eyes. "No," I replied. "I told the truth." And that was when he finally broke. Later that night, after the officers left, the apartment felt empty. Too quiet. My son sat beside me, rubbing his hands together. "They were already watching him," he said. "That notebook you gave them. It started everything." I nodded slowly. "So the message wasn't a bluff," I said. "No," my son replied. "They were closing in." I leaned back and closed my eyes. For the first time in days, my chest did not feel tight. But relief did not last long. Because truth has a way of spreading. The next morning, my phone would not stop ringing. Family members, friends, church members. News travels fast when a respected man falls. Some voices were kind. Others were cruel. One message hurt more than the rest. "You should have handled this privately." I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I deleted it. Because secrecy was the poison that started this. That afternoon, I met the woman from the yellow house again. She looked exhausted. "I heard," she said softly. "They took him in." "Yes," I replied. She nodded slowly. "He lied to me until the end," she said. "Even last night." I reached across the table and took her hand. "He lied to everyone," I said. "That's not your shame to carry." Her eyes filled with tears. "What will happen now?" she asked. I took a deep breath. "Now," I said, "we rebuild." But rebuilding is never simple. That evening, a reporter called. Then another. Then another. Someone had leaked the story. "Ma'am," one voice said, "did you know your husband had a second family for years?" "Yes," I answered calmly. "Did you help expose him?" "Yes." "Why?" I paused. "Because silence protects the wrong people," I said. That night, as I sat alone, my phone buzzed again. A new message. Unknown number. "You think this is over?" My heart skipped. Then another message followed. "You embarrassed powerful people." I stared at the screen. For the first time, doubt crept in. Had I gone too far? Had I underestimated how deep this really went? My phone buzzed one more time. A single sentence. "We're not done with you." I set the phone down slowly. Because I knew something now that I hadn't before. My husband was not the center of this story anymore. He was just the door that opened it. And whatever was coming next would be bigger, louder, and far more dangerous. The storm had not passed. It had only shifted direction. The message stayed on my phone all night. "We're not done with you." I did not reply. I did not delete it. I let it sit there, glowing in the dark like a warning. Morning came with heavy clouds and a silence that felt unnatural. Even the city sounded different, like it was holding back. My son noticed it too. "You're quiet," he said as we ate breakfast. "I'm thinking," I replied, "about how deep this went. About how many people benefited from my husband's lies. About how truth makes enemies you never see coming." By noon, the story was everywhere. Social media, local news, whispers in places I had not stepped into for years. People I barely remembered suddenly remembered me. Some praised my courage. Others questioned my motives. One comment cut deep. "She stayed all those years. Why speak now?" I closed the app. Because people who have never lived in silence never understand how loud it is. That afternoon, I was asked to come in for a formal statement. Not as a suspect. As a witness. The building was cold and bright. The kind of place that makes you feel small on purpose. A woman across the table looked at me carefully. "Mrs. Marianne," she said, "we believe your husband was not acting alone." I nodded slowly. "I know," I said. She leaned forward. "We believe there were others who helped move money. Others who benefited." My chest tightened. "And now?" I asked. "Now," she said, "they are nervous." On my way out, someone called my name. I turned. A man stood near the entrance. Well-dressed. Calm. Smiling. "I'm sorry," he said politely. "Do I know you?" "No," he replied. "But I know you." Every instinct in my body screamed danger. "I just wanted to say," he continued, "not everyone appreciates surprises." I said nothing. He stepped closer. "Some doors," he said softly, "should stay closed." Then he walked away. I stood frozen until my son came running. "Mom," he said, "are you okay?" I nodded. But I was lying. That night, something else happened. Something that changed everything. I received a call from the woman at the yellow house. Her voice was shaking. "They took the kids," she cried. "They said it was temporary. They said it was for safety." My heart dropped. "Who took them?" I asked. She sobbed. "People with badges," she said. "But they didn't feel right." I closed my eyes. This was no longer pressure. This was leverage. I made a decision. A dangerous one. I called the number that had been sending the threats. It rang twice. Then someone answered. "You're brave," the voice said. "Or foolish." "I want the children left alone," I said. A pause. Then a laugh. "That depends," the voice replied, "on how cooperative you are." My hands shook. "Say what you want," I said. "We want you to disappear," the voice said calmly. "No interviews. No statements. No more truth." I swallowed hard. "And if I don't?" I asked. The voice lowered. "Then people you care about keep paying the price." I hung up and sat in the dark. My son found me there. "They're using kids now," he said, his voice breaking. "This is evil." I nodded slowly. "Yes," I said. "And that's how I know something." He looked at me. "What?" "They're scared," I said. "Power never threatens unless it's afraid." Later that night, I packed a small bag. My son stared at me. "What are you doing?" "I'm stepping into the light," I said. Mom, no. I won't run, I interrupted gently. And I won't be silent. I reached into my coat and pulled out something I had not shown anyone yet. A second flash drive. My son's eyes widened. You still had more? Yes, I said. And this one, they don't know about. I handed it to him. If anything happens to me, I said quietly, you take this to the people who will make sure the world hears it. His hands trembled as he held it. Nothing is going to happen to you, he said. I smiled sadly. Truth always has a price, I replied. As I opened the door to leave, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. A final message appeared. Last chance. I stepped outside into the night. Because some stories do not end quietly. They end with a choice. And the choice I was about to make would either free us all or cost me everything. I did not go to the police station. I did not go to the media. And I did not run away. Instead, I went somewhere my husband never imagined I would choose. The church. Not the big one with cameras and crowds. The small one. The quiet one. The place where truth does not hide behind titles. It was already full. Word had spread faster than I thought. People who knew me. People who knew him. People who only knew the story they were told. I walked in alone. Every step felt heavy but steady. I sat in the front row. And when the pastor finished speaking, I stood up. The room went silent. I did not shout. I did not cry. I spoke slowly, clearly, in words even a child could understand. I am not here to shame anyone, I said. I am here because silence almost destroyed me. I told them everything. About the secret family. About the lies. About the threats. About the children used as fear. I did not protect names. I protected truth. Faces changed. Gasps filled the room. Some people cried. Some people looked away. And in that moment, something powerful happened. People started to talk. Not gossip. Truth. By the next morning, the story was no longer controlled by whispers. It was public. Too public to bury. The calls stopped. The threats stopped. Because power hates light. And I had turned it on. 3 days later, the children were returned safely. The woman from the yellow house held them like she would never let go again. They said they had no right, she told me, crying. They said everything changed. I nodded. Yes, I said. It did. My husband never spoke to me again. He did not apologize. He did not explain. But he did not threaten me either. Because men who lose control often lose their voice. Life did not magically become easy. Some people blamed me. Some people avoided me. But something else happened too. Women started reaching out. Messages. Letters. Voices shaking but strong. I thought I was alone. I thought I was weak. I thought silence was safety. I answered everyone I could. And every time, I said the same thing. You are not weak. You were surviving. Today, I live quieter. But I live free. I no longer wait for doors to open. I open them. I no longer fear secrets. Because I know what truth can do. I found my husband's secret family. But what I really found was myself. And now, before I go, let me say this to you watching. If this story touched you, if it reminded you of your own silence, if it gave you strength you didn't know you had, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss more real, powerful stories like this. And tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? Your voice matters. Your story matters. Because sometimes, the thing no one expects is the moment you finally choose yourself.